My parents are Talmadge Pounds and Cassandra Woods. Growing up, I grew up in a single parent household, and so I had to watch my mother go through quite a bit um, raising three kids on her own. My father, I don't hold any hostility towards him because I knew that he did the best that he could with what he knew how to do. And I love my parents and appreciate all the stuff that they went through um, for us as children because I know it was not easy to do that. Parenting does not come with a handbook or anything. So I do appreciate everything that was done for me and my siblings. I have two siblings. I'm the oldest of three, but I have two siblings. I have a brother and I have a sister. Um, Growing up, being the oldest, I did have to do a lot more than I guess you could say they had to do. But that comes with being the oldest. My brother is currently in the U.S. Army, and he's been there for almost going on a year. Um, but yes, I'm so thankful for my brother and my sister because growing up without them, I don't know what I would have done. Um, and although we fight, we have our little sibling spats or whatever. I love my siblings with all my heart, and I'm so glad that I have them in my life. My father actually passed away in 2021, and so COVID was still heavily present in the world at that time. So it was some things that we couldn't do when he was in the hospital before he passed. Um, like multiple people couldn't visit him and different things of that nature. But luckily, he has quite a few siblings, so that means I have quite a few uncles and aunts and cousins. Growing up, like I mentioned before, we were in a single parent household, so we didn't know much about my father's family. And so this is his father, Eddie Pounds Jr., and my sister and I actually were lucky enough to go on a trip to Atlanta, where, well, actually, Douglasville, Georgia. And that's where my grandfather's side is from on my father's side. And so this was a trip before me and my sister went. And so this is us. And so we got to see where one of my great uncles, he's the sheriff of Douglas County in Georgia. And we got to see the jail and the inside and his office, and he talked to us about what he does. And it was just an overall great experience because we learned so much about our history in Georgia. Another great thing was we met family members that we didn't even know we had, like Joe Pounds, who also works um, in the jail system. And so, and Tavares, we met Tavares Pounds. Um, and so, yeah, we didn't know that our family was so big in Georgia with the sheriff system, sheriff office and stuff, which was mind blowing. Moving on to my mother's side, this is my grandmother on my mother's side, and these are my great grandparents, Ajay Roberts and Velma Roberts.
My name is Jacqueline Roberts Brantley, and I'm from Houston, Texas, and I am 69 years young. My childhood growing up with IJ and Velma Roberts, it was an awesome childhood because there were 8 of us living in a 2-bedroom home with 1 bathroom. And during that time, we didn't have the convenience of washing machines and dryers and dishwashers. We were the dishwashers and the washing machines and the sun was the dryer. We had to hang the clothes out on the clothesline. And we had to keep the house clean. And even though it was a lot of us in the small space house, we kept that house clean. We kept the yard clean. We kept ourselves clean. And we went to school. And those that were not of school age, well, they had to go to a babysitter because both parents were working outside of the house. 69 years, and I don't remember all of my 69 years, but the years that I do remember, it's a lot of memories because our dad used to take us to Spring Creek Park where we would go and have picnics, and he'd have barbecues at the house and invite people, and he'd come out on Sundays after church and play ball with us and the neighborhood kids. So we enjoyed all of that. And my mother, she just let my dad just have fun because she was the quiet type. And it was whatever he wanted to do, that is what he did. And she knows she loved that man. But anyway, they were married for over 50 years before he passed away. And she lasted for about 15 or 20 years, and then she joined him. But I thank God for what we have gone through, and I thank God for the times that he took us to spend with our grandparents in East Texas. During the holidays, especially Christmas, we would go down Route 84 down to Mount Enterprise to grandmother and granddad's house. They called my granddaddy Lup and called my grandma Minnie Roberts, Minnie Devereaux Roberts. We'd go there for Christmas. And that house would be full of love and full of people and full of food. And I'm gonna tell you this about my grandmother. She did all of her cooking. She didn't want you in the kitchen with her when she was cooking. I tried to hang around the kitchen, she ran me out. But my grandmother had long, beautiful black hair, and even in her old age, her hair was black. And I said, Mom, why is your hair so black? She said, child, get out of here. But I'm gonna share this with you. My family had a sense of humor. And I tell people that I have a sense of humor. When my grandmother was on her deathbed, she was there and she was like, oh, she was in so much pain. And people came to visit her, and this one man that came to visit her came from their hometown. And when he came in there, one of my aunts told my grandmother, said, Mom, I forgot the man's name, but she said, so-and-so is here to see you. My grandmother said, She raised up from moaning and looked at that man, and she said, I didn't recognize you because you had a bath and got on some clean clothes.
My name is Cassandra Woods. I am from Houston, Texas, and I am 43 years old.
My name is Evergia Stewart. I am from Houston, Texas, and I am 45 years old.
I remember as a child growing up around my grandparents. It was awesome. My grandfather was the best ever. And I did not grow up with my biological dad, so my grandfather was my dad. He was my protector and provider. My mom went to school and worked as a single mother, so I spent a lot of time with my grandfather. He was always telling jokes and making sure that my sister and I were good, that we didn't need anything. He had his own business. He was an entrepreneur, and he had a record truck. So while all of the other grandchildren were at school, I would ride around in the record truck with him and his friends.
I remember going to work with my grandmother, and we would go ride the bus, and then we would stop at Woolworth, and we would go in there and get a snack, and we would go to the people's houses that she was cleaning at the time. And I would kind of just sit in the background while she cleaned. I remember my papa picking me up from school on a couple of occasions, and he was a little toasty with his libations, and so he would pick us up and we would be swerving and speeding down Wheatley, which, I mean, it was dangerous, but it was so much fun. So those are my memories. I remember all the holidays being together at their house with all of our first cousins and our aunts and uncles, and it was just a lot of just family love and gathering and lots of food and dominoes for sure. A little bit of trash talking, but fun.
For the family holidays, I remember as a child And these were some of my fondest memories as well. Spending the night at our grandparents' house on Christmas Eve, and our mom and our aunts would go into the bedroom to wrap Christmas gifts after they've been cooking all night. And so, as children, it was like, what, maybe 25 of us? And we were all in one room sleeping, sleeping, but really trying to find out what we were getting for Christmas. And so we would always try to come up with excuses as to why we weren't asleep. We needed water, we were hungry. And so one night, my Aunt Catherine told us, if you don't go to bed, Santa is going to bring you a sack full of coal. So that's how we all had to like go and lay down and get ready for the next morning. We would get up and get dressed and everything, and then have breakfast. And we could open one gift at that moment. And then after we had lunch, we could open up the rest of our gifts. But we spent like the entire day for Christmas together. So Christmas Eve and Christmas Day was always dedicated as a family day. But those are just some of the fun memories that I have about my family and being so close knit. And we love each other. And even though we've grown up, we still get together for holidays and enjoy and love on one another.
My grandfather, Sherman Roberts, which we call Luck, he was married 3 times. And my mother was the first child of his second wife. Her name was Laura McClinton. And out of that marriage, there was three children were born. My mother, Lerone Roberts, Grace Roberts, who is my aunt, and then Ara E. Roberts. I was one of the first male to go to college from my mother's side. So I went to Prairie View, and I was a biology major and a chemistry minor. I graduated in 1963 with a BS in biology and a minor in chemistry. And I also was in the ROTC, so I received a commission. And I taught school for 1 year. I got a deferment, taught school for 1 year, taught high school for 1 year. And then I came on active duty in the military. I was commissioned second lieutenant infantry from Prairie View A&M. And then I stayed in through the Vietnam War. And then I received a Allied Health Professional Scholarship. And then I went to veterinary. Well, I came back and got out. Well, I came from Vietnam, and then I was in a basic training unit. And then I stayed in for 5 years. And then I got out and went back and got my master's at Prairie View. I received a master's in 1968. I got my master's, completed my master's in 68 at Prairie View. And then I taught at Prairie View from 68 to 74. And then I was still in the reserves, and I received an Army scholarship, Allied Health Professional Scholarship. And then I went to veterinary school at Tuskegee on a scholarship with the Army. And I had to give them 1 year for each year that they sponsored me in school. So I had a 4-year obligation to the military. And I came back on active duty in 1977 when I graduated from Tuskegee with the Doctors of Veterinary Medicine. And I came on active duty.
Hello, I am Demetrius Roberts Grant. I am 61 years young, and I'm from Henderson, Texas. Uncle Sherm cooked for Al Capone. He was his driver. And there's also the story that Al Capone gave Uncle Sherm some money, and Uncle Sherm he buried it in his living room under the floorboard, and he had a rug over it. And Uncle Sherm's house caught on fire. And while the fire department was there, he had my auntie go into that house. She said, I can't get in there. The fire department, they not gonna let me go. She said, you gotta get in there and get under that rug and get my money out of there.
But see, that's the same thing that happened with they tore all the walls out because he had money. They say he had money in the walls and the mattress. They tore everything up in that house. Boy, you couldn't even walk in that house.
Wow.
It was so
because they knew the money was in there.
Yeah.
Well, my auntie managed to get the money out that hadn't been destroyed. So the parts that was somewhat burned, Uncle Sherm told her which bank to go to, and they exchanged the burned bills for new bills. So he got his money. And that was the story she always tells us. And when I say always tells us, we hear that story often now. I think I've heard it more in my 50s and now 60s than I did when I was little. But that's because now I understand the connections.
My name is Sharon Parrish Bradley. I live here in Houston. From Houston. On May the 22nd, 1959. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of what I do know about Grandpa Bill Devereaux. When we was kids growing up, he was staying in Henderson. They moved him from Jacksonville back to Henderson, and at his daughter's house. And they had him a little house built that was back in the back. So he would tell us as we were growing up, coming up there during the summers and stuff to see, hang out a little bit. He told us that he used to ride with Jesse James. And he said how he got to ride with Jesse James because his mother worked for Jesse James' mother, doing little stuff around there, I guess, helping with as being maybe a midwife or whatever. I don't really know. But then he told her that Jesse James taught him how to ride horses. He said, but Jesse James was an outlaw. And he said he didn't... he helped him a whole lot. He said he wasn't very fond of a lot of people, but he took to him. So he taught him how to ride horses, and then he would go off and they do their little devilment, and he would never let anybody bother him. He kept him under his right arm or whatever you want to call it. And that's basically, he said he was outlaw. But he said Jesse James, he liked him, and Jesse James liked him. And I guess that's really about as much as I can tell you. No more than, he's saying he was outlaw and rode. And he, every time we come down during the summer, he said, yeah, we couldn't wait to go back there and talk to him because he had a bunch of tales to tell us, about Jesse James, And we thought that was so cool because we was kids. And, we had a grandpa that rode with an outlaw, cowboy. It was a cowboy.
My name is Billy Charles Roberts. I'm from, I'm not, I think it's Cushing. I'm in Rusk County. I was from Rusk County. Well, I was at the time where them old what do you call them? White folks, cocaine or what, trying to run stuff up there. And so you pretty much had to go along with what was going on at the time. And but it was still kind of, it was the racist. Yeah, it was racist. And when I got a chance, I got out of because it was real strong up there at the time. Now it got better as it went along. Like when these kids come along, it was a lot better. But when I was coming along, it wasn't that good. You had to pretty much fight, and they I don't know. See, I'm telling you like this, when I'm really ain't good at explaining things, but they tried to rule people and stuff like that. We were just fortunate enough to own something, and they still want to run it, you know. And I wasn't going for it, so I just left. Oh, man. I
Bill,
don't know
Bill,
where to
Bill,
start.
Bill, Bill.
Yeah.
That was a gangster
Hey,
right there.
boy.
That's why he come from a gangster family.
Uncle Bus used to come to the house
Mm.
and tell my mama, Gusta, I'm going to kill somebody. He come down one day and he told my mama, he say, Gusta, he used to call her Gusta. Gusta, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. So my mama, that's her baby right there, Uncle Bus. He said, oh, no. What's wrong? She crying. What's wrong? I'm going. That was his way of getting what he wanted out of him. So she said, what's wrong? She crying. I'm going to get him. He done beat me out of my money. He liked to gamble. He done beat me out of my money. So my mama said, well, how much? He got me for $50. I'm going to get him. She'll go in the room, get $50 and give him $50. Well, I'm going to give you this $50. Don't go over there messing with him. All right, you say that, no. You say that. So the last couple of times, he did it about 3 or 4 times, but my daddy told him, look, Bus playing you. And she said, what you mean he playing me? She say, Bus ain't going around there beating nobody. He ain't finna beat nobody. She say, the next time he come and tell you this, tell him to go ahead on. Go on around there and kill him. You gonna kill him, go ahead on. There's a jailhouse waiting on you around there. Go on. Say, last time he came, he said, Gusta, I'm going to get him. Gusta, I'm finna go get that nigga, Gusta. I'm going to kill him right now. So my mama told him, well, you just go on and get him and kill him if you got to do that, because it's a jailhouse. He turned around and looked at her. What? You gonna tell me go around there? You said you were gonna kill him. Go on, kill him. He said, well, I'm finna go. He went on and left. And I be standing out there, Uncle Bus. Uncle Bus, can you give me $1?
There's that money he just got from your mama.
Yeah, I be, Uncle Bus, can you give me $1? I ain't got no money. But that was, and he taught her a lesson, because he realized that it really wasn't like she, was thinking it was.
Right.
So.
It ain't the first time he got him though.
No, he got a bunch of
He
time.
got him when he was little. Now we were told when Daddy was little, this was after he started walking, something happened and he stopped walking, and the doctors told my grandparents they had to put him like in a wheelchair, but it wasn't really a wheelchair, it was a wagon, something, or a wheelbarrow or something that they had to carry him around in because he couldn't walk. So his siblings would be the ones pulling him around and doing different stuff, and I can imagine he telling them to take him over there and go do that. So my grandmother left on a Sunday going to church and left the kids at home, and he told his older siblings, which was one of them was Aunt Opal, and he told her that he was hungry, and one of them went out on the yard and killed the chicken, cleaned the chicken, and Aunt Opal cooked the chicken, and they ate. And they cleaned the kitchen up. So when Ma came home, she's fixing that dinner, and she was wondering why they wasn't eating. Come to find out, they were full because they had already eaten, because Aunt Opal had already cooked the chicken that's one of them killed off the yard. But anyway, Dad played that game even after he started back walking. They said he pretended that he couldn't walk, had them carrying him around and stuff, until one day they caught him walking. His gig was up. He was a character. Yes, he was. He was a character, but he was a people person. He loved people. It didn't matter your nationality. It didn't matter your skin color. It didn't matter what language you spoke, because he was going to learn how to communicate with you. And he told us before he passed away, he said, y'all better learn Spanish. He had a Spanish friend that he called Sergio. So after he passed away, Sergio called the house, and we were telling Sergio that he had passed away, and the man was like, who is Sergio? He said, my name is Sergio. My daddy would change your name. If he could not pronounce your name, he would tell you, no, I'm going to call you Lily. I'm going to call you something that I can pronounce. And that's what he would do When Harry went off to college, she brought home some college friends, and one girl name was Aida. He could not say Aida, so he just said he called her Ann. He said, when I call you Ann, you better answer. Yeah, you know, if I call you Ann, you better answer because I'm talking to you. But anyway, he was a people person, and throughout our community, and it hasn't happened lately, but he had been gone about 10, 15 years, passed away, and people were still asking us when they would see us how he was doing, because it was so many people that we couldn't even get in touch with these people to let them know that he had passed away, because it was so many people, and it wasn't a group of people his age. He interacted with people from teenagers to older people. I didn't know he knew some of my classmates till they come to the house, you know, because they had things in common. He, like I said earlier when I talked about him, he did construction and he was a plumber's helper, but he also worked, in his latter years, he became his own boss, where he dealt with used cars. He would go buy cars. They could be junk cars, and he would take them and get them finished, get them repaired where they would run, and he would sell those cars. So he became what we call an entrepreneur, and we called him the junk man. And during one time when we were going through a depression, and people were complaining about not having money, my dad didn't have that problem, because he always had money on him. And he might not have had it in his wallet because he didn't put all of it in the wallet. Sometimes you ask him for some money, you might see him going to his sock. You might see him going in a brown paper bag. You might see him going in places you wouldn't even think money would be, but he always had money. And one time he was on his way home, not far from the house, and a car got in front of him and another car got behind him, and these youngsters, they were going to rob him. And when the guy got out the car and came around to the driver's side, my daddy had his hand on his pistol, and the young man said, "Oh, Mr. Roberts, hey, I didn't know that was you." And they went on and got back in their cars and drove off. That's just how many people that he knew. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say about my daddy.
During the documentary experience, I actually traced I.J. Roberts' mother, Minnie Devereaux's line all the way back up to 1670 France, before they moved to England, which is before they moved to the U.S., to Virginia, where they began to own slaves and travel the South with the slaves until they made it to East Texas, I believe, before they made it to East Texas. And it's all documented. I looked it up through a book that I actually found at the PVAMU library, titled The Devereaux Papers. And it was documenting the lives of slave owners Julian Devereaux, and up that line. So I'm actually really glad that I've experienced doing this documentary and found out all the information that I found out, because it really lets me know who I am and where I came from, even if that history does include slave owners. And I had a great time doing this documentary, so thank you for watching.